What I will do is I will give you a quick idea on what our run-through here tonight will be. And then I'll ask you to do a description of what it is you want to do, answer any questions from the members on the board. And then we'll close that portion and we'll go into a board discussion, very open, about whether or not we should go in this direction. Here's what we will do. I am opening up the meeting, so it is now open. I will lead us in a pledge of allegiance. I always start the meetings with these. Then what we will do is we will talk about our last meeting and see if anybody has any comments or corrections to our meeting minutes. If they don't, we will vote to accept them as they are. At that point, what we will do is I will read what's on our agenda, and tonight there's only one thing, it's yours. But I will read it openly anyhow, tell you what our desire is, and our desire is simple. It's going to be you come up to the stand, introduce yourself, tell us what it is you want to do, answer any questions from the members of the board, then we'll close the public portion, we'll go to the private portion, we'll go to this portion where the board can now discuss it, and we will do that openly. We will then take a vote by the end of the meeting on either approval or not approval or something else. We've never gone down that something else path, but it's out there. It's something we could do if we had to. And then we will close that portion of the meeting, ask if we have any comments on our next meeting from our attendees, and then we'll close. Any questions? Okay, why don't we stand up? Flag is right there. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for joining us. All right, so all the members have meeting minutes in their folder or in their package. Hopefully you've all had a chance to look at those, and what I'm looking for right now is does anybody have any comments on any corrections to the meetings or changes? Otherwise, do we accept the meeting minutes as written, and then we'll vote on that? If you're ready, absolutely.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from January 16th.
Okay, we've got a motion on the table to accept the meeting minutes as written. All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Second.
Seconded? Seconded, thank you. All right, so the meeting minutes are approved as they are written. Thank you all very much. Okay, coming into the next thing on the item, I will read through the okay. So we have a second set of meeting minutes. That's from our meeting with the Zoning Board of Appeals from the town. And as you're getting ready for that, the same thing would be in place. Anybody have any comments or corrections to that? If they don't, we'll accept them as written. I will tell you this, there was on the agenda going to be another meeting on this issue. From what I've been able to understand, at this point, there is nothing on our calendar. It may reapproach itself, but there is nothing on our agenda for another meeting with the town. So, those meeting minutes, do we have any comments on them?
No. I make a motion to approve as written.
Motion to approve, seconded?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Very good. All right, so we've done that section. Now, what we have on tonight's thing is we have 70 Baker Street, the owners, Constantine Merkel And Sharon Merkel, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, with the tax ID of 080.10-1-78. The applicant seeks to install a fence higher than what is allowed by the code pursuant to Village Section 175-65G. The applicant proposes to build a 6-foot-high fence on an elevated deck higher than the 4 feet which is allowed. So picture that as being on a deck. The code currently says 4 feet. At this point, the applicant is seeking to make that a 6-foot-high fence. I believe this deck is on the back of the house?
Yes.
Okay, so the house is the deck is on the back of the house. They want relief from that. It's currently zoned R2, 9.6. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna invite the owner to stand up, introduce yourself, give us your name and address, and tell us what it is you would like to do.
Well, I'm the older, Constance Merkel, but my daughter's the one, she lives with me, and she's helping me with all this.
Either one of you can do it as long as you're both here to say whether it's correct or incorrect.
Okay, my name's Sharon Merkel.
You can go to the microphone.
Okay.
That's all right.
So my name is Sharon Merkel. I live at 70 Baker Street, and we're proposing, we would like to put 2 6-foot panels that will just go to the end of the deck and to the wall of our house on the left side, which would block our southern neighbor from seeing onto our deck. So that's what we want to do.
So that's it. In other words, you want to put up a fence. The fence currently is allowed as 4 feet. What you would like is, now, could you
Yeah.
tell me what kind of a fence it is? Is it a
It's a
stock?
white vinyl fence that'll
Is
be
it
put
a
up.
stockade or is it, normally 2 or 4 or 6 inches apart?
So there's no separation, it's just like your normal.
It'd be like a stockade fence.
Yes, and then, but it's all plastic, you can't see through it, and it's actually 57 inches, that's the height, so.
Okay. And
But I think
6 feet would be 72.
Correct, so. And then,
It's higher than the 48, which is.
It's higher than
allowed.
the 48, it's, your normal decks are 36 railing. When we do pool decks, I have to do it at 48, so that's when it kind of changes. And I never really, I put it up here, I've never had a problem with this, but I get it, it's a village. If we were in the other side of Webster, they wouldn't have said 2 things to me. We've already done them, a dozen, but I get it, but,
Understood, and thank you.
I do have a reason for wanting this. As you can see in your packets, there's a photograph that my neighbor has, in my opinion, been stalking me. She has video cameras that watch us. They watch our front door, they watch into our backyard, they watch into the side yard. The picture that you have was given to me by another neighbor, and she has seen other photographs that have been taken through my neighbor's kitchen window of me reading on my patio. I feel it's an invasion of my privacy. This woman harasses me on a consistent basis, and I'm trying to find a way to stop it without it going any further. I like to sit out and read my book in the summer, and I don't need somebody taking pictures that I don't know about, and I don't want them to wind up on the web for one reason or another, and she's sending them to other neighbors. It's just so I can stop the harassment that's been going on over the years between her and I.
Okay, thank you very much. And I did want to make sure that at least everybody on the board was aware that there is one neighbor response to this particular application. It was a negative statement. I don't get into going any farther, I just say it was negative comments. It was a negative statement. So now our job is to look at that and ask your applicant any questions. I would try and keep them to the fence, the height, the state, the distance between the fence. I would try and not, if you can, reasonably, get into any of the issues around the, thank you, the bad blood. Okay, thank you very much. Anybody want to ask any questions?
I want to ask a lot of questions. All right, so I take it the letter that we got is the neighbor in question?
Yes.
Okay, so that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
All right, question number one, this is a brand new deck?
No,
Yes.
well, it's replaced, yes.
I demoed it all.
Yeah,
There was an existing deck already. We got it built it to almost, we added about 4 foot. And we came out about 4 foot farther.
2 or 4 feet, I remember.
Yeah, so we only came up, but there's been an existing deck. It was ready to go. So we completely demoed it. I pulled permits, passed framing, passed everything. We're good. Stairs are in, railings are done. The only thing we're waiting on is these 2 little sections here, and it's, like I said, it's done. I can get pictures of the look of it if you want to.
All right, so the deck's being renovated, remodeled, whatever?
Yes.
yeah,
All right, does the deck enclose a pool?
no.
No.
Okay. Then
Is the deck immediately off the house?
Yes.
all right, so I guess I'm questioning, why are we even here?
Is the fence on one side?
Yes, just one
Just the
side.
neighbor side.
The other
Just one side.
yeah, the other side is our house.
Okay.
All right,
Does this meet the definition of a fence?
So it's called a privacy fence?
Right, but does it meet the definition of a fence?
right, this is a privacy wall.
Privacy wall.
Privacy wall, we
Okay.
did,
The presumption of a fence is a border.
yes. That's-
Typically,
The way I see
we
it, yeah.
interpret it as a border.
Yeah,
We typically interpret a fence starting at grade,
right.
set in the ground. This request does not meet those criteria. The deck does not enclose a pool. The code specifically references 4 foot around the pool, so it doesn't apply. I don't think in my personal opinion, there is no variance required, as far as I can see, for a privacy wall on a deck. However, there are other statements made, but it's not part of your request, but you want to change an existing 6-foot fence to an 8-foot fence? No.
8 foot. I just spoke with Aaron this afternoon about that, and right now we're kind of putting that off.
Okay, so that's off the table.
Yeah,
That's
we're
off
not-
the
we're not-
table.
Okay, and the issue raised by your neighbor about the chain link fence, encroaching on her property?
That fence has been.
Is that the right word, encroaching? Is it over the line?
I don't know for sure. In 1989, that fence was put up, and it was long before she lived there. We had another neighbor that lived next to us. The survey has been changed since, at some point, our survey map that came with the deed that my parents have been holding on to is different than what the survey they did. I would need a whole new survey done. And I don't think it should come out of my money. That fence is over 20 years old.
That's all irrelevant. It has nothing to do with the application.
Right.
It's a dispute between 2 neighbors. It has nothing to do with the village.
Right.
So
I honestly
I don't
believe
care if
that,
it encroaches, doesn't encroaches, the neighbor didn't submit a survey. We're gonna just take her word for it and tell her she's gotta move a fence, you know, so just, it's irrelevant.
Right. So,
I'm a little confused as to why you need a variance myself.
yes.
do I get my money back?
Well, I guess we'd have to hear from the building inspector as to why, I'm assuming he's the one that told you
Yeah.
you needed a variance.
It's the way the wording was, and we're already looking at
The wording
changing
to,
some of the
and
wording.
where?
Glasses on.
There's one that says, first it says, fences in excess of 4 feet shall be erected a minimum of 20 feet from the front setback limit. Well, this isn't in the front anyhow, so
Right.
175-65C doesn't apply. D is the one that looks like it applies, and it says fences in the rear and side setbacks shall be a maximum of 6 feet in height. Well, the rear setback in this zoning is, I just closed the page. R2, is this which one? R296?
Yeah.
It says there shall be a rear yard not less than 40 feet deep. Now, it's worded weird, I don't know what it means, it says fences in the rear setback. I don't quite, I'm not sure what that means. Normally they talk about if you're so many feet from the rear property line, you know, fence can be so tall, and the further back you get, the taller the fence can be. That's typically what you see that's the way the town used to have it. I think the town still does it that way. Although the town went from 4 feet to 6 feet without any variance, but assuming she's in the rear setback, it allows a 6-foot fence anyhow.
And some of the confusion with this was originally, she was gonna do the 8-foot and on the elevated part, but yeah, there's no pool. But again, we were combining everything with the 8-foot fence, so
Right.
Well, clearly an
But that's
8-foot
not-
fence.
this
that's not part of the variance
was
request
dropped
now.
and misconstrued, or missed, we'll say.
Well, it's confusing because you wrote a letter to like 30 some odd of your neighbors that talked about this 8-foot
I
fence
actually
stuff.
did more than that because I read the list wrong.
Oh, jeez. And like I said, in our original conversations, she was including the 8-foot, so that obviously kicked it to zoning.
That
Um,
would require variance.
Right.
So G says it has to be on a pool only.
So, yeah,
We don't
Yeah.
have, we honestly don't.
But this doesn't surround the pool.
this doesn't
Right.
sound.
And,
So I build decks year round, like, I build 40 decks, easy in the summer or more. And it's, you know, talked about, on a pool or on a house, I've never, ever been told no, that you can't have, even on a pool. Even on a pool, because people want to have a little privacy. We never put a full, I use the same one, it's a Veranda brand, 57 inches. I just thought, because I trust them, we actually used to be neighbors, you know, and so, I just said, well, it's gotta be a village thing, because I know in different towns, I know all the codes, and we talked about it before.
Yeah.
Every town has to be the same. These guys go to different trainings in the beginning of the season. It's never, every single, he's different. Henry is the worst, but I learned these guys, so I don't even bother no more. I know what towns I can get away with what, you know. Some towns don't even come and do my inspections. They just say, go ahead. But I just thought it was a village thing, and, you know, I had to disappoint the ladies and said, we got to sit back and wait now, so.
I actually feel
They've been waiting
better-
patiently.
Yeah, and I actually feel better that Aaron is being overly cautious with me doing this job, because if we did it with just the permit and put the walls up, you would have had my neighbor in here or calling the village constantly complaining about that wall being put on my deck. So if I have the approval from you, there's no further complaints that can be made against us because we got the approval.
So are we to understand that there is no requirement then?
So without an 8-foot
well,
No,
fence,
the 8 foot's off the table.
right.
There is no requirement for you to be
Put up a
here
6-foot
to
fence.
put up a privacy wall.
Okay,
well, first of all, it's not a wall. It's a fence. And you look at the definition of a fence in the code.
Yeah.
It's different than what you say. Right. It says, anything other than living plants, trees, or shrubs designed to or which in fact divides, encloses, or screens a parcel of land or portion thereof. Now, this clearly screens a portion of her parcel of land.
All right, so
And
if
there's
it
nothing
meets the
that says,
definition
there's
of a
nothing that
fence.
says it's gotta be in the earth, you know, you're anchored to the ground.
Right.
So, and the country, he called it it's a privacy fence, you know, that's what they're called. They're not called privacy walls.
I call it that's what they do, you know, it's privacy fence, even with
Yeah,
pools.
most people call them
Houses are a little
privacy
tight,
fences.
people want to actually enjoy themselves, not be stared at.
But it's a 6-foot one,
Right.
Which is allowed.
which is, it appears 6-foot fences are allowed in rear yards and side yards, although even though it's phrased.
With the elevation,
phrased a
even
little
that
bit.
brings it to about 8-foot.
Right, but it
the
does
reason
not,
is her
Right.
the definition
windows.
does not state from grade.
No,
It doesn't say where the fence starts.
Yeah, so the fence has got to start at the level of the deck. You can't include the height of the deck as part of the fence, because it's not.
Oh. I didn't think about that.
So,
Yeah.
Do we have to make a formal?
is this a moot point?
Do we have to make
Without
a
an
formal
8-foot?
ruling that this is
Without
not?
the 8-foot part, then yeah.
guess. I don't think she needs a variance. However, I think given the ongoing problems with the neighbor, that this board should go on record as saying that the 6-foot privacy fence attached to a deck is allowed under the code, and, you know, feel free to go get your building permit, just so there's something on the record in case.
Yeah, no, in case somebody comes back and
If
says,
somebody comes back that, you know, you heard it, and, you know, whether she gets her $125 back, I'll leave to internal people.
What's the difference?
But the 8-foot thing did kind of confuse things.
Yes, right.
I apologize, that was just in the letter, it wasn't on the application.
And it's already on record that you're not doing anything with the 8-foot fence at this time.
At
If you
nine.
want to, you'll bring it back forward.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
You know, when all this was submitted, it was too late, it was after the deadline, so it was
Yeah.
submitted, so.
I was in a hurry to get this paperwork done because of when the board meeting was coming up and when I had to have the paperwork turned in. So I kind of did it really quick in a day to 2 days. So I apologize if there's some misunderstanding.
okay,
No, we're good.
thank you.
Thank you.
And one other thing I want to do here is I generally allow the general public to have a comment if they have one. Right now, Rick has got one, I believe, if he wants to ensure.
I submit that the whole point is mute because a partition along the edge of a deck is normally called a railing, and there is no restriction on heights of a railing, I believe, right?
Fair enough. Thank you very much,
A fence
sir.
would be attached to the ground.
Well, but it's not a railing.
Not really.
That's the,
Normally railings are attached to decks, but this is not, you know, you got a pretty high elbow if you're gonna rest on that railing 6 foot up off the ground.
railings have no height definition.
With the pools too, how when you do the pools now, you need that
Minimum of
48-inch clearance. I can't tell you how many pool decks I've built, and then when they come in to inspection, depending on where the stairs are, you've got to go from the foot of the stairs all the way to the pool at 48 inches. That's not really that fun when you know? So I've been trying to work the system with them, with the, you know, with my inspectors there.
And then one final comment is, do we have privacy fence or item defined anywhere in our code?
It was way back in the 2000s.
Thank you.
Kathy may remember this on Elm Street. There was an incident where a resident put up a 6-foot privacy screen and without a permit. Will challenged it. It went back and forth for, I don't know how long, do you remember?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. And
Driveway.
it turned out, I don't remember. It turned out they let it stand as a privacy screen. And it was just along one side, well within the property line. And it just went, didn't even go to the full backyard. It went from the front plane to maybe, I don't know, 2/3 of the way to the back.
So it's either 2 or 3 panels is all.
Yeah, there was only, a few panels. And that was let through, and it was, you know, Will said, well, it's not a fence, it's a privacy screen. So I don't know if that would play into it as a definition.
As, right now, I'm gonna say we don't have definition for it.
Right.
Next time.
And the other thing that I will come out with is that it would appear, go ahead.
Well, Will's no longer here, but if you're, again, the definition of a fence includes the word screening
Yes, it does.
a parcel or a portion of a parcel. Now that's screen, so it's a fence. It was a privacy fence. Not a privacy screen, not a privacy wall, it was a privacy fence, it's a fence. So, I don't know how tall it was, but
6 foot?
did they come in for a variance?
No, they did not.
It was in the backyard or the
No, it
side?
was on the side yard.
Well, either of 6 foot fences
Similar.
are allowed in side yards.
Similar circumstances.
Yeah, so, well, it was allowed, 6 foot's allowed. But I wouldn't have, you know, if I was around then, I would have told Will, no, it's not a privacy screen, it's a fence. which is good. It's basically the same situation as here. Hers is in the rear, so you can have 6 foot.
Other questions or comments by anybody on the board? Anybody in the general public? All right, general closing that portion. I do like, much as, I like what Don had said, in that we ought to formally go through this process and declare that it's not necessary in this particular case. And it's not required to have a variance, but it doesn't in any way prohibit putting up that 6-foot fence on the deck. I mean, that's where we want to get to, is we want to say, we evaluated, we reviewed it, we came to a conclusion. So does anybody want to make that,
Statement?
yeah,
Sure, I'll make that statement.
There you
Upon consideration of the Village Board of Webster, a variance is not required in this instance for the construction of a 6-foot privacy fence on the outer edge of the deck.
At 70 Baker Street.
well, and you might want to get in there that
And
we
it's
did
6 feet
review
tall.
it with our village attorney, and that's the conclusion that we came to. So,
I will second that.
thank you, we've got this seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. There you have it, we made a declaration that it's not necessary to have one, go forth and do what you need to do. Keep it under 6 feet, and you're in good shape.
Thank you very much.
All right, you have a great night.
Thank you, we're just not trying to make waves.
Nope, I didn't think so. All right, so we've taken care of
I'll
that.
move this done so I can inspect it.
Yeah, I'll be done by Thursday.
For those of you who don't know, we potentially have a meeting for the next month. I believe it's the 19th of March. That'll get to be more firm, but right now, I would say that something is coming for us in there. We have nothing scheduled with the town planning or zoning board to do anything with the item at Xerox.
I did just get an application today for zoning stuff.
You did, for the 23rd,
Yeah.
or the 22nd, or whatever it is. Thank you. All right,
With the town?
No,
Okay.
everything with the town is done, they dropped their application.
Oh, they dropped it.
Yeah, that's no longer anything with the Tessie project, so that's,
Oh, really?
all that stuff was
it's
canceled.
nothing that we did.
Okay,
So none of
do
that
we
would be-
know who it was?
Nope. Still just assumptions, and we're not gonna go off assumptions,
Right.
yeah.
The other thing that I would like to get out to everybody before we close is that you've got a meeting notice, and that's a learning event. Remember that on an annual basis, we're required, or we attempt to take 8 hours. Ed?
8 hours?
That was 4.
4 hours.
4 hours.
4 hours,
A
it's
year.
just
Oh,
4?
it's 4, okay.
All right, well, this one will give you 4 hours, so if you've got an
No, that's
opportunity.
a 1 hour.
No. It'll still give you 1 towards. We're having a great night.
I took one the other day, so just an hour Zoom meeting and.
And by the way, I think this is free, or the village pays for it, one of the two.
Right.
All right, so if anybody's got an opportunity for that, it'd do you good to take a look at those things. Anyone have any questions?
No.
I have none either then. All right, what I'm looking for is a motion to close the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None. Very good, everybody, thank you.
4 hours. Yeah, I'll be honest soon.
Yes. Yeah.